Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. The topic is the Brzee brain. First, we will be hearing from Dr. Pillai about the results of his Brzee mantra on the brain. Then we will see some analysis of the brain on when using an EEG to see exactly what's going on in there. So we're really excited to hear from Dr. Pillai today. We have him with us to make sure he's unmuted. There we go.
Okay. I was not supposed to be doing this session, but I decided to do that. But when I just came in front of the camera, I just happened to look at a book that was lying on the floor. And that is this book, Tesla, The Life and Times of an Electric Messiah. There was a time that when I was immersed in the study of Tesla and his accomplishment, with a view to do some documentary on Tesla and where his genius came from. Because, you know, he had about 700 some patent, and some of them, most of them came after his death. So I was fascinated by this guy, how he got this genius brain. And he also said, all that we have to do is, you know, he died at a time when science and technology, even the medical science, was not that evolved like today. And so he did at one point say a couple of things. One point he said, if we change the brain waves, we can change a lot of things. And he had an intuition. And he said that he always was interested. Here I am going to read something. He said, he was interested. It has cost me years of thought to arrive at certain results, by many more believed to be unattainable. So what people thought it is not attainable was the domain that he wanted to work on. That's why he had the ability to go into areas that are thought to be impossible. something that reminded me that's what I am trying to do. Or even Vishwamitra wanted to give a lifestyle of the king to everyone in his kingdom. Is that possible? That's not possible at all. How can anybody have the lifestyle of a king or a president? The president flies everywhere in a private jet, in the government jet. And how can people don't even money to put gas? Is that possible to accomplish that everybody could have or can have everything of a king that a king has? It's impossible. But somehow Vishwamitra thought that it is possible, but it is possible through divine means, not by human means. That's why he came up with this sound Brzee. And what must be happening, we have just established what happens in the brain when you say Brzee. We have some preliminary amateur results, but then we have done Harvard research on how the sounds change the brain, particularly the intelligence, and how it goes to various parts of the brain and what sounds activate what parts of the brain. That we have research supported by great institutions like Harvard and Brain Science International. But for Brzee, we are yet to do, but we have done some preliminary things that I wanted to show by someone who just got trained in the brainwave studies. So I leave it to her to show that to you. Now, doing the impossible. Somebody sent me a recent market survey of what's happening in the United States. 10% of families in the United States own about 70% of the nation's wealth, 10% of families. What is left out? 30% is being shared by 90%. 90% have to share the 30%, and 10% as they're sharing 70%. This is a hard fact. Is it possible to change it? And I was saying if we can get 50-50, at least 90% of the people get 50 and 10% of the people get 50, that's doable. But to say that everybody is going to be equal, it is difficult. But it is possible. It is possible when this time changes, Kali Yuga ends and Satya Yuga starts. But in the meantime, we are struggling, and Brzee would help. And how the sounds change your brain is really the key. All that is needed is the sound. Everything is sound. I spoke about it in the last presentation. Now, the quantum physics is talking about the string theory. The string theory means how the finest of the matter, which are the particles, are just sound waves, strings, sound. And this is what the Vedic rishis found in deep meditation, like Vishwamitra did as well. You can get to a point and then create everything. Put string theory on the one hand, the Bible in the middle, and then the Vedic science on the right side. Vedic science and from India, and then the and the Bible say the same thing about creation. In the beginning, there was the Word, and the Word was with God. God said, "Let there be light," and then the light was there. And that is how easy it is to create through the sounds. But we waste our sounds by blah-blahing from morning till evening. Totally unconscious talk. That is our default system. Our default, the human default, is ignorance and blah, blah. And if we just change that default, a default of great understanding, great accomplishment, then we will all will be well. And now, that's why I came up with this 5 modules of deep concentration on the sound and understanding how it works, and how to get the sound into the soul, into the mind, into the body, and then saturate all these final carriers of consciousness, the soul, the mind, and the body. With the sound Brzee, then you can accomplish. This is the first time that I came up with this. The way I operate is, by the time I come to the 6 months, I will have changed my teaching about Brzee. Since 1998 to 2019 now, it has gone through tremendous amount of evolution. Why? That is the way it is in the earth plane. Why did not people invent color television right in the beginning? They have to go through black and white and all kinds of things. And now television is obsolete. You can have everything on your cell phone. Okay? So it has gone through a lot of changes. So if you learn Brzee now, it is the best. And in 6 months from now, I would give you a lot more. That is why I keep it open. As it comes, then I will talk about it. For instance, when I came and then the Tesla is very close to my heart. He was such a good genius, but a very bad money karma. A man of his stature, whom Morgan Stanley and Westinghouse, all these people were partners with, should be without money and should be supported by his own government somewhere in Eastern Europe. It is pathetic. And he had so many patents. Why? He always had very bad money karma, in contrast to his mentor and boss, Edison. Edison had great money karma. That's the bottom line. Now, that's one thing. So that is something that we have to understand. And I really sympathize with people who struggle hard but are unable to change their money karma, which is financial mind. That's why. Even in the United States, 90% of the people share 30% of the wealth. I don't know what equation will be there in third world countries. They are trashed. Having said that, I just want to give a positive message. You don't have to look for the government to give you money, the government to fix you. You need Brzee to fix you. Brzee will not only fix your financial consciousness, it will fix a lot. And another day during this testing, I found that Brzee can also help changing some of the key intelligence areas and other than the money areas. So everything boils down to the brain. That's why neuroscience is going to rule the world. Nowadays, what happens, neuroscience even in the United States, neurofeedback, not many people do. Why? Because the government in the Medicare or nobody will pay for it. They won't pay for neurofeedback. Insurance will not pay for it. It is not recognized. But I predict that within the next 2 to 3 years, it is going to explode. And people will understand why it is important to do that. Obama wanted to do that when he came to power. He said, we have to study the brain and invest all our money into it, but it didn't take off. But it will take off. And we don't have to wait until then you can start with chanting Brzee. Now, I just want to go back. Why I looked at Tesla's book, and the title was very interesting. The book calls Tesla Electric Messiah. It is very interesting that he was fighting with Edison because Edison did not want the AC current. He was only into DC, and he was making a lot of money. So that will ruin his career and money. But Westinghouse supported Tesla, and then he went there. And when he came up with that, and there was tremendous amount of opposition from Edison. And then he did some magic to pass the AC into his body and proved that this current is not dangerous. I am going to pass this current, heavy volt current, and then had demonstrated. It's very interesting. That is something like what a messiah can do, not human beings can do. That's one thing. And I also remember one thing about, now having said that, I also have equal respect for Edison. Without Edison, there won't be any bulb. And Edison is a great inventor too. He passed away in 1931. We didn't have a knowledge of the brain as we have today. Edison would go into a theta state. A theta wave is the most creative wave. And it is in between your sleep and waking state of consciousness. You get into a drowsy state. And that drowsiness has the most powerful brain waves. And intuitively, through God's grace, he was able to know, if I can get into that domain of theta, and I can create more, because you should not be living in using a model, a bad model, in which everything you retrieve from your memory. What you retrieve from your memory is garbage, is what you have stored. There is nothing new coming out. So we have to have something new to come out, and that comes out from the theta brain waves. So he did not have the sophisticated machine that I just bought. But what he did was very interesting. He just will sit on his chair and then would invoke this drowsy state. And then in this drowsy state, your mind, your conscious mind is not alert. So the secret is available in theta drowsy state where you are not fully conscious. But then you need the conscious state to find out what you are perceiving in the Theta state. So he devised some crude, it's not a machine, a device. He had an iron ball he would carry in his hand, and he will go into a meditation. It's, and then he will get into the drowsy state and then into a sleep. And if he goes into the sleep state, then he will completely forget everything. So and then he will forget also the Theta's revelation. So he will doze off, and when he doze off, you will see the ball slips slips because he loses the grip and falls on the floor where he had kept a metal sheet. It will go bang, then he will wake up. At that time, he would know, oh my God, I saw this, I saw this, and then he will be able to do that. That's one thing. Another thing that I want to share with you was Tesla, how did he get all these things? And there are so many things, extraordinary things he had. One of the things he would do is get his Faust. He would recite that just in a park. He was reciting Goethe's Faust. And the recitation gave him the understanding of how to create an engine. Can you believe that? How just reading poetry, he got this one. It's because of the sounds. And who had the complete understanding of the sounds? The yogis, the Vedic rishis. Because they spent millions and billions of years to understand a strategy or a device or a method through which they can transcend the human limitation and get omniscience, omnipotence, and omnipresence. That was their goal. And they thought, and they not only thought, that they also felt and experienced, the only way to do it is go to the nada. Nada bindu kaladi namo namo. Veda mantra swarupa namo namo. He saw God. This is Aranagiri, a saint. He saw the form of God, and he describes what is it like, the God's vision. It's nada and bindu, sound and light, but not this ordinary sound, not ultrasound or anything, but a divine sound. And what is that sound? The sound is like Brzee. He got a different sound. But the sound that is more relevant for us, individually and also for the country. So the government should sponsor this program. They should research on their own. Instead of trying to, fix the financial problem at a superficial level, you should go and spend money to change the poverty consciousness of people. So scarcity is consciousness of the people. And that is more important. And that goes to the science, which says, is also some from India, water the root to enjoy the fruit. Now, trying to fix the finances through other means, like increasing taxes and tariffs and so forth, is not going to work. But we are so obsessed with external things and not understanding the internal reality. The inner becomes the outer. If the inner is infested with poverty consciousness, you will see poverty. Do we teach in schools? No, because they say this is not going to work. We are really guilty of not introducing these concepts to boys and girls when they are quite young. The inner, it becomes the outer. Because since we have ruined our consciousness by looking at a bad model of external rationalistic reality as the only reality and not taking to a deeper realm of consciousness, we have lost everything. We have lost the sovereignty. We are sovereign by nature. Everyone, even a child born in a slum, is sovereign. And we are denying this sovereignty to these people. So, what we need is to fix our brain. That's why poverty is a disease of the brain. Scarcity is a disease of the brain. It is poverty, prosperity is neurological. And if the government spends money on this, a fraction of what they have spending for other things, and making it mandatory, we can fix it. I had an experiment with the government schools. 35,000 people participated in a program. It is all government schools which are, where the children are not affluent, very, very humble, families. But the results are amazing. The sounds can change your brain. And that is the bottom line. That is how Brzee is going to work. You have to listen to that because you have to convince your rational mind first. And then, when you go on changes, doing the sound, over and over and over and over again, everything will change. But then you should be committed. You should not say Brzee a few days, and most of the time you don't do that. And that is the reason why it's not working. See, the rishis will go to the Himalayas and then go deep and explore. So how much time it took for Vishwamitra, they said 1,500 or 1,200 years, just to come up with this sound. It was a great sacrifice on his part. And it is the time it is getting revealed at this time. We are at the juncture of creating the golden age. The Satya Yuga, Kali Yuga is ending. So I am confident that it will change, although not too many people are interested in what I have to say. But God has His own plan, and He will just do it regardless whether people want it or not. But at the same time, you have to take responsibility also. God helps those who help themselves. And if you think that Satya Yuga is coming and money is going to fall off the roof, never. Satya Yuga is a matter of changing your brain through a cosmic process that God would use. Until then, don't wait and then continue to waste your time. Brzee, just dedicate and commit your entire focus, time. Brzee, 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 Brzee. Brzee, 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 Brzee. Even if you are talking to your friend some garbage, inside you should be chanting garbage, garbage. Brzee, 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 Brzee. Even if, most of the time you will know that, oh my God, I don't want to talk to this person. But inside, Brzee, 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 Brzee. And change your body, minds, DNA, everything, soul, with Brzee. That is the way that you can change your scarcity consciousness. And you will see once, however is the result, the results will be there. Once the results are there, then you will be more interested in doing this. So I wish you good luck, and it is Sunday, that's why the sun blessed you with this. The sun is a very powerful force. Without the sun, there is not even life, particularly intelligence. Intelligence comes from the sun. And it is His grace that He inspired me to come to the camera and talk to you about Brzee. Thank you, Sun God. And I said in the sixth model, we are going to summarize what you learned in the 5 models. And I'm going to add one more element in the 6th module, which is going to be how you can talk to the goddess Brzee. Yeah. The goddess is Brzee, and the first temple for the goddess has been just built. I bought the land for my own, for building a house for me. It's a very beautiful land in Chennai, but I decided no. It should be made available to the public. And then I never thought, when I went to the place first, and the area was still underdeveloped. And today the price went up by 10 times more. When I went there, I saw a signboard saying God's own villa, the area. Now they changed their name. Everything has been changed. So it's in that area that I was attracted. I bought the land for building a house for me, I said. It was a reasonably big land. The Brzee thought that she would be there. I'm very happy to do that. I now live in Chennai for a rental property, but I don't mind. Everything is rented anyway. Even the body is rented by the soul, and then one day the soul has to go away. But anyway, I wish you all well to put for the 6 months. 6 months is a very small time compared to a lifetime. For these 6 months, if you put your heart, mind, and soul to Brzee, you will change. Not that it takes 6 months to change. The change takes place even when you say the sound, because the brain, if you look at the brain waves, you can see how quickly it changes. And so Sonia is going to show you the brain waves, including my brain waves, but I told other people's brain waves don't identify. But she can show my brain waves to you what my baseline is, so how my brain works, when I am normal, not meditating, not doing Brzee, and what happens after Brzee is introduced. What's the time frame? 2 minutes. That doesn't mean I have said 2 minutes of Brzee. I don't want to. No, the brain has changed now. You have to make the brain waves trained in Brzee so that it becomes your baseline. Brzee should become your baseline. That's the bottom line. Brzee should become your baseline is the bottom line. What it will do, it will change your default. What is your default? Scarcity consciousness. You have a choice to make here. I want to keep my default. If the default is without faults, keep it. If the default is scarcity consciousness and battling every month for your paycheck and finding out you're not able to balance your budget, that's the default. If you want to keep it, that is a choice you have made. So I leave that to you. God will do his own thing, that he has already given you the sound. That's all I wanted to say for this morning. God bless. And if there is someone who wants to help humanity in a big way, like for instance, Warren Buffett gave $30 billion to Bill Gates Foundation some years ago. And if there are people not like Warren Buffett, he's a very unique case, want to help the world with their money, and they have already established themselves in prosperity consciousness, I would help them. Because what happens is, once you have a few millions, it's easy to make $1 billion because you're already a good default. And I have been thinking of late to help those people so that they can give the money back to the society. And if anyone of such stature want to help, and I would be very happy to work with those people. And so that should be through an application process. You can send for a request, and then we will see what can be done. Okay, that's all for now. Thank you, Vishwamitra. Thank you, God, for this opportunity to share this wisdom with the world. God bless.
Thank you so much, Dr. Pillai, for joining us and allowing us to receive such a beautiful message today. We also next have Sonia Benkovich, who will be giving us some preliminary analysis of EEGs where the brain was using Brzee. So now we have Sonia. And then go ahead.
Hello, everyone. I'm honored to be here, and it's only through Dr. Pillai's grace that I've been able to learn more about our brains and how our brains operate in relation to these divine sounds, which Dr. Pillai refers to as nada. And I'm going to keep this pretty short and sweet. I'm not a neuroscientist. I'm not an EEG technician, but I have undergone some formal training. And I want to share some of the discoveries that Dr. Pillai has found. And it's the way of the future. It's revolutionary. It's where humanity is going. Humans are evolving from Homo sapiens to Homo Deus. We're going to become gods. And if the Siddhas had this technology thousands of years ago, that I'm certain that they would have been sharing this with other people to convince them of the power of sound, and in this case, the power of Brzee. So it comes down to how do you shift your brain state? And the Siddhas gave us these nada sounds, and nada, when a sound becomes nada like Brzee, it's a very powerful implementation of it, which is what Dr. Pillai is going to be teaching in this program. We have our human speech, and if you say Brzee in like a conversational tone, our human speech is only 1/4 of the power of a nada sound. So when we talk about these divine mantras and these divine sounds, they have 75% is hidden and can take us back to the source of God, and they have this incredible power to shift our brain states. So Dr. Pillai talked a lot about this default network, and I'm going to show you kind of what the default network. It's actually a scientific network in your brain, which they have discovered that from the age of about 2, when you're born, the first couple of years of your life, you're with your parents, and you kind of just go and you don't challenge them. You just kind of go with the flow. Whatever your parents say or an authority figure says is the word of God. But by the age of 2, you start to kind of go through those terrible 2s, and you start to develop an identity. You throw temper tantrums, you reject certain things, and it starts to develop this information highway in your brain that they refer to as the default network. And from the age 2 onwards, our default networks get more and more developed, more and more personalized. All of our experiences start to influence our default networks, the things that we've been taught, our things we've been denied, our emotional states, everything goes into this information highway in the brain. And I'm just going to go ahead and share my screen here and show you a couple of pictures because I think it'll make it a little bit more interesting. Hopefully everyone can see that. Okay, so this first picture is very, a lot of information on here, and the specifics are not so important as much to show you that scientists have done a lot of study on how we process information, where we make our decisions, and a lot of times on the right here where it says prefrontal cortex, this whole area is after all the information gets processed. It's in the front of our forehead, our temporal lobe. It's where we actually make the final selection and decision about what we're going to do, what we're not going to do. But because our default network is so strong that a lot of that's actually done by habit. You know, you don't have to think about how to drive anymore, right? You know how to drive. When you first learned how to drive, you had to put a lot of effort into it. But over time, because that information highway in our brain got so good, you really, for the most part, don't think about how you have to drive anymore. It's so automatic. So like that, we've developed a lot of habits and a lot of skills in our life that have gone from something that we've had to be very conscious about and think about to something that's just been very automatic in our brains. So this is kind of what it looks like in an EEG type of way. That an EEG is it's a electrodes or sensors that you put on your head. And the one Dr. Pillai has 20 leads. It's a 2010 EEG, which is quite standard. But these primary nodes here, don't worry about the red and the blue, are the different leads that are on your head that measure your default network. So we looked a lot at this default network to kind of determine what's going on in our brains. Now, what I want to show you first here is, this is kind of one of our reports from it. This is Dr. Pillai's brain, and he does not have a normal brain, by the way. So with these sounds, when we were experimenting with Brzee, we first had to examine the brain in just a totally relaxed state where you're not meditating. You're just asked to sit very quietly, not to move around too much or at all, and to not think anything specific. Don't meditate, just sit with your eyes closed silently for 2 to 3 minutes. And this is what Dr. Pillai's brain looks like when he's not meditating. Now, right now, it looks like just a bunch of colors. This is the report of his baseline. And I'm going to share with you a little bit about where thoughts are processed here. So there are 2 things to note about this picture. One is anything in the dark blue and anything in the red. Anything in the dark blue means no activity whatsoever, very, very quiet. Anything in the red means there's abnormal amount of activity above the median. So this particular picture and report shows you about 6 or 7 different types of brain states that we all have going on simultaneously. The one in the upper right, called delta, is the one that you have mostly in deep sleep, when you're totally relaxed and in a deep, deep dreamless sleep. You also have some of it going on in your day-to-day activity, but for the most part, it's when you sleep, the delta state will light up in red. So here, Dr. Pillai just has a little bit, these 2 little circles right in the front. When he's relaxing, he's not meditating, right in the front of his forehead, which indicate some form of selection and decision thinking process, some light activity. Now, he talked about Edison trying to get into the theta state. So your theta state is the one next to it. It's your next set of brain waves. They're a little bit faster. And what this means when you have, like for instance, it says delta 1 to 4, what that means is how many, it's like a sine wave, how many fluctuations or how much activity in 1 second. So in the delta state, you only have 1 to 4 electrical impulses in a second. It's very, very slow. When you get into theta from 4 to 8, that means you have 4 to 8 waves in 1 second. And theta is where you have, if you're sleeping, it's where you have your dreams. It's a dream state, the REM state of sleep. And it's also a state of high creativity if you can access your theta state from the conscious mind. And that's where Edison had done a lot of his experiments in trying to drop that ball, so that as soon as he started to fall asleep, he would get that jolt and his mind would come back, so that he wouldn't go to delta, the unconscious dream state. He would be in kind of this quasi dream state where, you know how in your dreams nothing really makes sense, but you start to kind of pull information from all the different experiences you had, and you make new connections that you can't necessarily with your logical mind. So you can view these top sections. The nose is at the top here. So if you look at the nose, these top sections here, you can view as your logical mind. Everything in your forehead and in the front part of your brain processes logic. So here, Dr. Pillai in his restful state has some activity in delta and theta in the logical mind. And here in alpha is like a calm state. It's a wakeful state, you're awake, but it's a little bit like if you're just relaxed chilling at the beach, nothing much going on. A lot of people will have a lot of alpha activity. So you can see it goes from dark blue to light blue up here. And he gets this hot spot here, right in the middle of his head. And this frequency here called beta, that is more your thinking state of mind. And here Dr. Pillai had a little hot spot on the right side of his brain. So he's a little bit more right-brained in the thinking state. And he has this unique feature, which we haven't seen on many other people's EEGs, that as soon as you go to those higher frequencies beyond that thought state, whether it's beta, gamma, or high gamma, he gets this magnetic hotspot that just goes forever on the right side of his brain. So we're having this sent to a specialist, but we haven't seen that in anyone else. So I'm quite sure that is a unique feature of his baseline. And when you go into these higher frequencies like gamma and high gamma, those are states of bursts of activity that are when you're in a super hyper learning state, when you get insights. A lot of people can induce it with some drugs, like if they take ecstasy or something, they'll have these high bursts of gamma. But it's when you're really engaged and excited about something and there's a burst of this activity. So even in his relaxed state, he has this gamma and this high beta going on. So then we looked at his brain on, I'm going to move this over to the side here, on, oops, let me get that there, on Brzee. So let me show you what his brain looks like when he did some basic Brzee chanting. Give me 1 second here. Okay. So I'm going to put his baseline on this side, and on this side, it's about 90 seconds of Brzee chanting, and I believe this was when he was silently saying Brzee. But the main thing I want to point out on his baseline is his mind is pretty quiet, by the way. There's not much, if you look at his higher thought levels and everything, he doesn't have much. And you can see it's consistent between the two. Like if you look at his the second row here, the high beta, gamma, and high gamma, those look pretty much the same. He's constantly in a state of targeted activity in his brain. But what was interesting is just Brzee's impact on his brain within 90 seconds is you can see an increased alpha here. This is the 8 to 10, 12 hertz range. And then when he does Brzee, there's an increase here of alpha. And what Brzee also did is any activity he had in the logical frontal cortex here, any mundane thinking, that whole part up here by the nose, all that activity stopped. It went to light green is kind of like where most of the population is, but most of it disappeared completely. There's not a lot of activity in that logical, mundane thinking. And then in beta, which is your thinking mind here from 12 to 25 hertz, it also completely diminished to just one spot here. So even in 90 seconds of chanting Brzee, you can stop your logical mind and you can reduce your mundane thinking, which I'm loosely referring to as beta, the beta brainwaves, which are your kind of automatic thinking network. So this was in Dr. Pillai's brain within 90 seconds. Now, what else I want to show you here is, this is kind of what it looks like when you visualize it in kind of a brain scan way. This is a recreated computer image of that same image, so you can see the different parts of the brain. The default network that we have that I was referring to is actually deeper inside your brain, and you only have electrodes on the outer side. So they use all these computer algorithms to calculate how much voltage and current, to kind of look at these deeper inner brain network structures. So science has evolved to the place where you can really see what's going on inside your brain. And what's interesting about what Dr. Pillai said about neurofeedback and about learning about your brain, which I think is really, really important, is once you can see this real time in a dynamic way, you'll understand how Brzee is working. Otherwise, you have to go on faith. You're like, okay, based on faith, I'm going to do Brzee. And then maybe if you stick with it, you start to see good results. You start to see a different positivity in the world. You start to attract more opportunities. You start to increase your bank account. You start to enjoy life. And, you know, there's so much joy that Brzee brings. But a lot of people don't stick to the technique because they're not seeing the direct impact on the brain. So it was really interesting when we did our initial preliminary research to look at what Brzee did to the brain on a few individuals. So I want to show you another one. This is from another person who did Brzee. And again, this is the baseline of this second person who did Brzee. And what is interesting here is this person is, this is their baseline. So when they're quiet, this is what their brain looks like. And there's a lot of activity here on the left side of the brain, the thinking brain, a little bit more left brain, some hot spots of alpha. And then when they started reciting Brzee, and this was about a 2.5 minute test. Let me show you what happened here. This is Brzee here. Okay, what you can see here is that this, the beta, that if you look, in particular, I want to focus here on alpha and the beta zones here. The alpha and the beta, which are your basic default thinking mode network. And we all have slightly different hotspots in our brain about how we process information. So this person here, their thinking brain was ignited here and here. But what happened is as soon as they started doing Brzee, they were able to override their default network, their alpha and their beta. That normal, intense thinking mind slowed down. It wasn't this hyperactive left brain activity. It slowed down and it shifted the brain area just by chanting Brzee. And it moved to 2 different areas in the brain. Like you can see on this alpha here, on this screen here, this alpha. I'm going to give the technical brain areas, but don't worry about it. So what happened is the alpha moved from this thinking state over here on the left side, and then it moved over here to the left and right temporal and parietal regions and the occipital. So you have the default thinking hyperactivity network here shifting to different areas of the brain, and this is for higher intelligence. So when you're operating from these areas here, you have a little bit more targeted access to a different level of thinking. And this happened both, this picture here was when they were chanting silently, and then when they chanted Brzee out loud, let me show you what happened. Let me see here. Okay, and when they did Brzee, just Brzee out loud, it was a very similar effect. I mean, when you chant out loud, you have a little bit of movement of your mouth and you have some other activity here. But again, you can see the alpha was shifting from, let me just put this one, this was her original alpha here. And then this one here, you can see a decrease in the intensity of the default network. And there is some other movement in here just because of moving the mouth and everything. The EEG will pick that up. But you can see how quiet the brain also gets in these higher level frequencies. It becomes very targeted in the temporal lobe as well. So we're still doing a lot of analysis on this, and we want to share more about how that interrupts the your default network. And just the final part of what we're initially finding, I really want to show you is there's a concept in neuroscience called coherence. And I'm going to bring up another person's coherence picture. Now, coherence, all that means is how the different parts of your brain are talking to the other parts. And in this picture here, it's the amount of information flow. When you have a lot of the dark blue, it means that your brain is not connecting very well. It's not talking at all to any other sections. And the dark blue here highlights where the brain isn't connecting. And the red is where there's a tremendous amount of information flowing in your brain. So beta, if you remember, the alpha and the beta are kind of your standard thought forms. In particular, alpha is a little bit better to have more calm thinking. Beta is a more active type of engagement thinking. As I'm talking to you now, I'm definitely in beta. We need beta, we need the logical mind. So on this person's baseline, you can see that even with their eyes closed, sitting quietly, they had a lot of information flow at the thought level. That's your beta. There was a lot of information going from the back of the brain to the front. In particular, because these connections are very long, they're going clear across the brain, they consider this a little bit of inefficient thinking. So whatever this person was thinking, it was not a very effective thought. Because from what the scientists are learning is that the higher your intelligence, the more local activity you have. So if you can imagine these blue connections all being red, that would be kind of a sign of a local processing efficient brain. So what this baseline coherence picture shows us is that in the lower frequencies, the more relaxed and deep sleep, there's not a lot of information flow and not a lot of activity. If, as Dr. Pillai said, theta is more creative thinking, being very creative and making connections, there's no activity going on here. The dark blue means no connectivity at all. And then in the red, the thinking state here, there's a lot of activity, but it's not efficient at all. It's not using the local networks. It's good to process information. It's going clear across the brain. So what happens when you do Brzee? And I want to show you what happened to their information flow when chanting Brzee for 2 minutes. So this is when they did Brzee silently. I'm going to bring this up here. And this to me is really just totally remarkable. You can see here on the right that just by doing Brzee silently for 2 minutes, that excessive, inefficient beta thinking, that's all in the red there, completely disappeared. Instead, they got if you see no dots connected, it just means a normal amount of connectivity. What we're looking at are extremes. Blue is something abnormally not connected, and red is hyperactivity or lots of information flow. So when you have nothing, it just means everything's kind of in a balanced, steady state. So you can see particularly that all that thought energy, all that inefficient thinking completely disappeared. It's completely gone. And all of that loss of connectivity, the parts of the brain that were just like shut off and not quite working well at all in these creative thinking states of theta and in your delta state, all of a sudden those improved as well. There's no more disconnectedness. There's a lot more connectivity in a very balanced way. And let me just show you one more about chanting Brzee out loud. And we saw the same impact if you're chanting Brzee out loud as well. So this is if you're chanting out loud. Again, different areas, but the same thing. That stressful beta thinking, that inefficient thinking has completely disappeared. Now, you might be asking, oh, this is nice, but how long does it last? Can you really change your brain? And the good news is that you can, and it does last longer and longer. And in particular, the more you can see the impact in your brain, you get the principle of neurofeedback is when you start to see these changes implemented in your brain with your own eyes, and you see that feedback, there's a mechanism in your brain that says, oh, I did it right, I changed. And so you do it more and you do it more, and you get a release of dopamine, and then you get really high and you get really happy, and you stick with it and you do it more, and you do Brzee more and more and more. And I think that's the problem with people who meditate, is that we don't actually get to see what's going on inside our brain. The changes happen, and then we go off in the world and we get back into this beta state. And by the way, I think this beta state and inefficiency is indicative of many people. It's not just this one person, but we all have a unique signature. So we go back into this hyperactive beta state of inefficient thinking, this brain flow, or our default network where we saw where we just go into automatic mode from our habits. And what Brzee does is it interrupts these systems, and it puts the brain in the right transformative state that the yogis have been telling us it would for a long time, that you can interrupt this network. And it's really important for us to have a level of faith that it's happening. But the truth is, if we hooked you up to an EEG, which I know Dr. Pillai would love to have some devices out soon where you can self-monitor your changes, you would be so inspired every day. Like, I did Brzee for 2 minutes and it made this change. And if you get excited by that, just knowing that it really happened, you would have much greater results. But if you go back into your default network, like, okay, I did Brzee for 2 minutes, who cares, whatever. No, it's just another sound. It's just like human speech. And then you lose the impact of it, because it did make a difference. But then what happened is you put your default network mode, you're overriding the good impact of Brzee. So from what we're finding on our initial tests is that it's really important to stay with the sound. And from what the yogis and the siddhas have taught about this, the power of nada, it's not just your human speech. When you say Brzee, it is just another sound, but Brzee every sound has a secretive power to it. And we've been fortunate enough to be revealed this sound, which when you follow it, and Dr. Pillai during this Brzee course is going to show you how to follow this sound back to the source, how to put it in your body and your mind and your soul to have the greatest impact of change. It's a way of returning to the source of Brzee, which you can say is the goddess Lakshmi, you can say it's Vishwamitra, but it's our connection to them. The nada sounds are not just spoken speech. They are secretive, they are powerful, and they give us that connection back to a higher frequency or an energy that can completely transform our consciousness. So as Dr. Pillai said, Brzee will change our baseline. And I totally believe that. We want to get out of our default system, which is our blah, blah brain. And basically, everything that Dr. Pillai had said earlier today about what we retrieve from our memory is basically garbage. What we need, and it's only gotten us as far as we've gotten today in life. So if we keep going back to our default mode, it's only going to get us where we are today. It's not going to be able to advance us further, make changes in our life. So we have to introduce something new, something that we know is going to change our brain and to change how we think and how we process information. And Brzee is going to do that. So I don't know if we can take any questions or if there's any times, but that's all I wanted to share today on the EEG and the science.
We can take questions.
Yeah, and I'm really excited to share more as some of our more formal research comes back as well.
Definitely. So any questions on the chat? There was one that someone asked, if you chant a different mantra like Om or anything, does it have a different impact on the brain?
Definitely. Dr. Pillai started his research first with Harvard and Brain Science International, looking at specific phonemes And they all have a unique fingerprint or signature. And if you want to see some of the core research he did, I think there's a video on YouTube about Jay Gunkelman on the, was that midbrain miracle method or?
Yeah, it was either that or
yeah,
millionaire
you
yoga.
can hear Dr. Gunkelman speaking about some of the shocking findings he found about the unique fingerprints each sound has.
Right, right. Any other questions for Sonia? What kind of device Dr. Pillai is developing for us to use?
That's my passion, because he has so many fantastic ones. He moves so fast. It's like we have a queue of about 10 life-changing devices. So we probably will partner with someone on a basic EEG neurofeedback headset for everyone, and align that with his specific sounds and how to use them to get optimal changes. But it's really important for you to see that feedback. He has some great ones coming out for his phonemic intelligence software and technology, where we can help students or even adults in a learning state of mind go into the specific brain state you want to do your task. So if you're a student, that might be math, or language, or if you're in sales or you have to learn something at work, it might be something to help you reach that brain state as quickly as possible. Time-wise, we hope the first product will be out within a year.
Great. Yeah, that was the other question. Wonderful. Everyone's just saying beautiful presentation and thank you very much. So I think that's all our questions for now. Thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, my pleasure. And please don't miss the Brzee course. I think Dr. Pillai, he only comes out of his meditation these days rarely to kind of reveal new things. And because Brzee is forcing him to do this, and to how to actually put that sound in different parts of your body and brain, I really think it's Vishwamitra and the gods wanting him to do this to help us maximize the benefit and to end our suffering. Yeah. And to become gods ourselves, to become superhuman. We don't have to suffer in our mundane consciousness.
Absolutely. Thank you. Actually, there's one more question which looks really good. Did you see a difference between chanting out loud or chanting silently in terms of which is more powerful?
We did. I don't feel quite so qualified to share that finding, only because there's something called motion artifact. So every time you blink, there's a trigger of a EEG, electrical signal in your brain. So you can imagine that when you're chanting, your mouth is moving, there's a little bit more activity and a little bit more artifacts. And we're having that analyzed by professionals. The overall effect was similar, meaning that they both shut down that default network, increased coherence to a natural level, helped end erratic thinking, it interrupted your default network, which was that specific information highway in your brain. All of that has been consistent. What I'm not sure about is how to explain the differences between silent and out loud because of that motion artifact.
Okay, great. Yeah, well, we look forward to hearing more about that. That was interesting. Someone else is asking, Veronica's asking how to get to theta. I know Dr. Pillai is going to address this in the dream module, but I don't know if you have any other information.
I know he's looked at that Thomas Edison research quite a bit, and there's two ways you can reach a theta state. One is that when you're sleeping at night, if you set some sort of sound or alarm that triggers your beta or your mundane thinking, if you can wake yourself up from the deep delta state from when you're sleeping and trigger a dream state, and you gain the ability to enter into dreams at will, or if you're dreaming at night, you can reach theta. You can also reach theta, though, as Edison was trying, when you're awake and you want to shut down that logical overactive mind, and you want to enter that epiphany, those epiphany states of mind, and that super creative state. You can do it the way Thomas Edison did, which was he sat in a relaxed state, and he would be working all day at the lab. So he was working, going through science, his equations, experiments, and he would get stuck. So he would take a break, he would go sit in a chair, be very quiet, so his brain, and he would start to forget about all his work. He wouldn't think about the equations or anything. He'd just start to relax in his chair, which means you're going from gamma and beta down to alpha. You're calming your mind. And then he would allow himself to get drowsy and drowsier and drowsier and quieter. And then he would start to kind of allow his mind to go into this, you know, kind of fantasy remuneration kind of frame of mind. But he didn't want to fall asleep. What he was trying to do, he didn't know about these brain states, by the way, in the early 1900s. But as soon as he didn't want to fall asleep and become unconscious. So as soon as he started falling into that delta, that deep state, that's when his hand would release and the ball would be knocked down, and it would wake him up from that delta to that theta state. So he didn't realize he was putting himself in that theta state. But from a conscious point of view, he didn't allow himself to go into the deep sleep delta phase. If he ever went there, he just woke himself back up. And at those moments, he would have tremendous amount of epiphany. And he used this frequently to kind of come up with a lot of his inventions and connections. So we'll see what Dr. Pillai teaches in that dream module. I'm very curious myself, his technique to help us stay in that theta state. So you can access it from both ways, from at night when you're sleeping and from your waking consciousness coming back to the theta.
Right. And there's another question. Is theta the state associated with the state where your mind is awake but the body is asleep?
That's a good explanation. I like that.
Okay, this poses a question, but we'll just frame it as a statement. Right?
I think that's a good explanation.
Okay, great. That looks like all the questions. Thank you so much, Sonia. That was really enlightening. I think everyone had a great time.
My pleasure.
And we definitely look forward to hearing more about how the research will be conducted some additionally. And of course, we look forward to Dr. Pillai's program on how we can start using Brzee in these variety of ways. So thank you.
Yeah, how to make Brzee nada and get all the secrets. Yeah,
definitely.
Don't miss it.
Yes.
Don't miss that.
No, and like you said, we don't know when he comes out and when he'll do more programs. And this is so rare that he's going to record. And now he just said today he's going to record another module. So originally it was going to be just 5 modules. We were going to compile the 6th one. Now he said he's going to teach actually 6 new modules in this program. So really, really unusual for him to be doing this. Even last year when we did the Shreem Brzee programs, he recorded 1 or 2 sessions out of the 6 months. So folks, this is incredibly unique that he will be recording 6 new sessions all for us to do for 6 full months. So I know some people also have some questions about the program, so I'll get to that because I didn't get to it so much last week. But thank you, Sonia, and we'll move on now to more of the program components and answering some questions there.
Okay.
All right, folks, so you've been sending in questions and we didn't have enough time last week. So what I wanted to do is help you understand a bit more about the program itself, as well as the bonuses that are coming up. We've been getting questions about that. So we did have a bonus that expired last week. If you weren't able to register by then, we have another massive bonus for you that expires on May 30th. Now, this is actually 6 months worth of remedies that get performed on your behalf in India to help enhance the Brzee abundance system while you're doing it. There is Tarpanam, that's ancestor offerings. Dr. Pillai talked about how important that is to be able to be doing. We'll be doing that on your behalf. There is a new Homa or fire ritual that will be performed for Brzee. It's going to be for the goddess as well as Vishwamitra on a very special day, on Anuradha Star Day, which is the goddess's birth star. And it's aligned with the same time, day, I should say, that a fire ceremony is performed at Vishwamitra's temple in Vijayapati. That is a very special holy place where he'd meditated for a very long time. He spent lots of time there, and there's a temple dedicated. So we will be doing that fire ritual in our ceremony in our center in India. There is also, so that's monthly. Every month you'll be receiving that. Then there will be the Tarpanam being performed for you every single month. Then there is one time a Shreem Brzee proxy writing, 10,008 will be written on your behalf. There's weekly fire ceremonies being performed at Lakshmi's birthplace. I'm sorry, not fire ceremonies. Those are archanas, or they're offering flowers and things of that nature. That's happening every Friday for her. Then there will be once per month on full moons where we will offer 108 lotus flowers to her during a fire ceremony at a very special temple where Dr. Pillai himself had an installation of a Sundara Mahalakshmi, which is a very special version of Lakshmi. And then you'll also receive a $50 coupon from Pillai Center where you can purchase a yantra or statue or anything. You can put it towards receiving an energized item that you'll be able to use in your course or along the way. So those are the bonuses. Oh, and also sand or vibhuti from Vishwamitra's temple. This is really rare. We don't go there very often, maybe once per year. And so it's very remote. So this is very rare and a very limited supply. So these are all the items that you get totally free when you register by May 30th. The program begins on May 9th. We'll be opening the program up to give you access to the welcome module and the introduction on June 1st. So, but the first call will begin the teaching call, and we'll be releasing the first module of information on June 9th. So that's the timeline we're looking at. So if you are interested in joining this program, I highly recommend that you do it by the 30th because you get all of these amazing bonuses. They're worth $900. And we want you to really be able to benefit from that. There's also some other exciting information, which is Dr. Pillai added a couple more things to the advanced program. We thought it was pretty full, but he decided he wanted to add even more. So the difference between the basic package of the Brzee Abundance System and the advanced package is that primarily you'll be receiving a live group mantra initiation and teaching with Dr. Pillai. Everything else is pre-recorded. This one will be transmitted just like this via Zoom session, and he'll be able to see all of you. He'll be able to give you a blessing and initiation. It won't be a two-way conversation, but it will be him giving a live initiation of the Brzee mantra. He then wanted to have the birth chart analysis that is included in that advanced program done with a special formula that he has created. He has come up with how he wants the birth charts to be analyzed in order to have you receive the most benefits of how to know which planets are benefiting you, which ones aren't, and how to use that on a regular basis. So then also what's included is one group Vedic life coach session so that you can then learn what you learned from the astrologer, how to implement it in your life. Like, oh, well, if Mercury is not my friend in terms of being able to make money, then what do I need to do on a regular basis when I know Mercury is upon me or influencing me in some ways? So very practical ways that you can begin to implement astrological imprints on you so that you receive more benefits. Because as you remember from the session that Dr. Pillai did on the masterclass, he talked about how astrology is impacting us and also how our ancestors are impacting us. And that's what we'll be teaching in the program. So in addition in the advanced program, we also have Dr. Pillai will be blessing your birth chart, which is very, very rare. We'll be printing it out for him, and he will basically look at it and bless it. And he won't do the full analysis or anything like that, but he will definitely have an imprint, an energetic imprint on your birth chart, which is basically your surrogate, right? That's your astrological, that's your blueprint at birth. So there's a very close connection to how you operate and your birth chart, and he'll be blessing that. Those are the new features. In addition to all of that, we have monthly group session, group coaching with a Pillai Center teacher. You will be receiving an personally energized Brzee manifestation device. He calls it the mantra multiplier device. He'll be touching that and blessing that for you. You'll be sending it and you'll be wearing it. Your yantra will be, your birth chart yantra will be placed at the feet of this new Shreem Brzee goddess. You just heard Dr. Pillai talk about how he created the first temple, the Brzee or Shreem Brzee temple, with this beautiful 6-foot goddess made out of a special clay. It'll be placed at her feet, and she'll be energizing it for 6 full months, and then it'll be sent back to you. Also at the feet of this goddess will be monthly full moon fire labs. We'll be entering into the fire 8 unique offerings that she loves. So this is also something that we've never done before and isn't available anywhere else except for in this program. You've also heard Dr. Pillai talk about Narasimha recently, and how this is the protector god of Vishnu avatar who can destroy negativity, destroy poverty consciousness. We'll be doing twice per month on the 13th moons, which is a great day for destroying negativity and destroying our karma, Narasimha homas on your behalf, or fire ceremonies on your behalf. Again, this has not been done before, and is only available in this program. You have 1 hour Vedic astrology consultation, and then you receive 1 individual fire lab based on the astrologer's recommendation of what would be best for you. So you'll be able to have that all included. You receive the 4-inch 5-metal Lakshmi, Shreem Brzee Lakshmi statue, which is the new one with her with the hood on, of the hood of the cobras. And then you'll receive other more remedies. In addition to the Narasimha, you'll also receive the traditional Pradosham ceremonies done on 13th moons, full moon fire, the traditional full moon fire labs for Shreem Brzee that are interactive every month, the weekly hydration at the Remedy Center, and 6 monthly new moon Tarpanam ceremonies. So all of that is meant to enhance your experience and really give you a heads up, a leg up on the program, as well as these new teachings from Dr. Pillai and of course the statue. So that's the advanced program, the new things that we've added, the bonuses that we have that all expire on May 30th. The bonuses, you receive the bonuses regardless of whether you purchase the base program or the advanced program. So it's all available to you as long as you register by May 30th. Dr. Pillai mentioned earlier that if there are some beings out there, people out there who have a passion for helping others, who have already established themselves as with financial abundance, but want to take it to the next level, he wants to personally work with you. He wants to work with people who want to help the world. And if, as he mentioned, if you already have the financial abilities to make millions of dollars, to be financially comfortable, then he can more easily help you get to the next level much faster. And of course, if your heart is in the right place and wanting to help others, that is his passion and that's what he wants to be able to do. So we will be adding on the site an application for that. In the meantime, if you're interested, please just send an email to office@pillaicenter.com. Please understand that this program will cost more than the $2,000 level, and it'll be customized to you. So if that's not in your financial means, then we have these programs that are already created for you to join. But if you want to go above and beyond what we've already created and work directly with Dr. Pillai and have a customized program, then email us, or very soon we'll be placing an application link on the site for you to send your information in. So now let me see if there are any questions from the chat. Any other questions? Let me look. What remedies of this program overlap with the Essential Financial Solutions package? None. None should overlap. Any other questions about the program? Yeah, so Gurupriya, if anybody has the Financial Solutions package, that is a unique set of remedies that aren't overlapping. There are some questions in general about how many times to do Shreem Brzee or Brzee, and whether those produce results or not. You've heard Dr. Pillai say this. It's really important for you to understand. It won't happen immediately, not for everybody. It takes commitment, it takes practice, and it takes consistency. So if you say, I did it for even 42 days, nothing happened, continue to do it. Right? We develop habits, and we learned from Sonia about how our brain from the age of 2 or earlier takes on patterns and then repeats them and strengthens them. So the more we're doing Brzee or Shreem Brzee or any mantra over a period of time, we're strengthening that neural network, and we're then creating more results. I know personally, when I first started meditating, couldn't feel a thing, not in my brain, not in my body, nothing. It took time and practice and years and years and years. And now I can actually start feeling tingling in my brain, or less thoughts, or where the sound, I can place the sound more easily in parts of my brain or my body. This didn't happen overnight. This happened with years of continuing to do it. So please be patient with yourself, be consistent, and be committed to the mantra. And when we saw results, we saw proof that it's working. So we know that it's working. At least we can think that it's working, even if we can't feel it immediately. This should be something that can give you some peace of mind to help, and an inspiration to help you continue with your practice. So that's really important. Sophie's asking, will there be weekly classes or monthly classes? Yes. So in the, I should have mentioned that in the base program, there are weekly classes with teachers happening for the full 6 months. We'll be creating a curriculum for that. It'll be following along Dr. Pillai's teachings that he is putting together in the program, but it'll give us an opportunity to connect with you live, to create community. There's a Facebook group, there's support. There'll be several teachers from Pillai Center there to assist you in your journey. Now, the advanced program also gets a monthly group coaching with a teacher. So because they have some new teachings in that program, they'll have additional support for that. Someone's like, how many minutes should we spend per day chanting Brzee? As many as you can, as many as you can. We say at least 100, repeat it at least 108 times per day. What I like to do is try to chant it as much as I can throughout the day, even when I'm doing mundane tasks, like Dr. Pillai mentioned earlier. Or you can sit in meditation, can sit for anywhere from 5 to 20 to 60 minutes, depending on what amount of time you have available. In the program itself, Dr. Pillai is giving 20-minute meditations plus a 1-minute technique that will be done every hour, or as much as we can possibly do it throughout the day. So he doesn't want any excuses that time is a factor. If you can't sit for 20 minutes, do it 1 minute, 20 times per day, right? So there's many options, and we'll be making all of those practices available to you in the program. Question, does that mean we don't have to separately purchase the Full Moon Fire Labs if we go to the advanced program? Depends on which Full Moon Fire Labs you're referring to. So there's the Full Moon Fire Labs that are performed in India. Those are included, the interactive fire labs. The ones that are performed by the Westerners are not included. Those are separate. Someone's asking, I bought the Brzee Miracle Maker. Are there remedies for that? No, there are no remedies for the Brzee Miracle Maker program. That's a different program. In fact, that was recorded in the late 90s. And Dr. Pillai just mentioned today how, everything evolves and changes. That's a program a very unique program, very powerful program. And now he's doing something new that is his new revelations. The goddess is speaking to him, bringing him additional content that he wants to release now. How will different time zones affect the program? Everything is online except for the weekly class, and that weekly class will be at 9 a.m. Pacific time. So we picked that time so that we can cover as many time zones as we possibly can on a weekend. So we're trying our best to definitely cover different time zones, but everything else is virtual. The Facebook group, people are chatting on there 24/7. And the course is available to you 24/7. You can do the practice whenever you like. And we always have our office support staff available during different working hours in the US and India. Someone's asking, can I get Dr. Pillai's blessings virtually? Yeah, you show a light to his picture, you pray to him, you speak to him, and he will talk back if you are open and receptive. Someone's asking about the difference between the Shreem Brzee Collective and the Abundance Program. So the collective is an ongoing program that has many different factors to it. It has a Monday miracle call, a Wednesday manifesting call, meditation call, and several Friday chanting calls, plus a Friday fire lab. Those are not included in the Brzee Abundance Program. And I'm sorry, there's also Sunday teaching calls on the Shreem Brzee Collective. If you want to, you can do both, or you can do one or the other. So it's really up to you. It's up to how much you want to put your attention on it, what you want to gain from them, or if you want to focus on one or the other. I definitely recommend that you put yourself into the Brzee Abundance Program because it is only for now. It's only for the next 6 months. The collective will be available after 6 months if you want to join just the Brzee Abundance right now and then join the collective after, or if you have the financial means to do them both because they complement each other. You don't have to do just one or the other. Miriam's asking, will the course be in our Pillai Center Academy account? Yes, it will. And so if you've registered already, you should have received an email saying when you'll receive access, which will be on June 1st, and how. And if you haven't yet registered, you'll receive this email. And what will happen is we'll tell you exactly how to join. And on June 1st, we'll send another email that says, here's access to your course, here's how you get into it, and then here's the information you'll find. It'll basically be a welcome and an introductory module. And Dr. Pillai did create a short introductory module, which will be releasing on June 1st. But the core, the meat of the module 1 won't be released until I think June 8th, and then June 9th is the first call with the Pillai Center teachers, and that'll set us up for how we're going to be moving forward. And then every month we'll be releasing a new module, and then we'll be using that teaching from Dr. Pillai during that month. Someone's asking about how can the program manifest getting a job? Well, a job is abundance, right? It's like any type of abundance in your life that you're looking to fulfill, whether it's happiness or financial or relationships or health. The abundance gets to be created when we remove the scarcity. The scarcity is the limitations, our fears, our default network of what we can and cannot receive, what we're worth, etc. So when we let Brzee do the work at these different levels, the soul level, the mind, the body, the dream plane, and full life encompassing, it's chipping away at the default network of scarcity, of negativity, of fear, and it's allowing the Brzee to work in its inherent possibility, its possibility, its positivity, its abundance, right? It's a joy, it's all of those things. So yeah, a job falls into that. If the job is what you're looking for your area of abundance, then definitely that can help. Any other questions? Yeah, so someone's asking about the replay. This will be available right after. There's a question about relationships at home and at work. Yes, so if there's a scarcity around, or negativity, or a fear, or limitations around relationship, then that typically makes those relationships uncomfortable. And when you infuse Brzee into anything, it creates abundance, it creates joy, it creates positivity, and that's what you're able to use. And whether it's finances, relationships, health, positivity, personal positivity. We've done so far 3 Shreem Brzee programs in the past 18 months. And I have to tell you that about 70% of the people who have surveyed, 70% had, I'm sorry, let me rephrase that. Out of the people that were surveyed in the programs, they said they increased their well-being, whether that be financial or material, financial or spiritual, by 70%, 60 to 70%. That's a lot of increase over the course of that program. And then when we asked how much of that was financial and how much was that in inner happiness, about 50% increase in finances and about 60 to 65% in inner well-being. So some people would say you can't put a price tag on happiness, right? You can't just buy a better state of mind, right? That's even more valuable than receiving financial abundance. But the point here is that people, 70% of the people who surveyed said that they had increased their wealth, inner and outer, by 70%. So those are some strong numbers in what we've done. And that's just in the last 18 months. So there's a question Gurpreet is asking, does each month of the advanced program have Dr. Pillai speaking live, or is it recorded? He gives one live session in the advanced program. And then the program itself, the rest of the content is all the pre-recorded content from the base program. Yeah, so someone's saying they are going to try out the Shreem Brzee Collective for a month, as well as the Brzee program. And if they cannot keep up with both, then they will drop the Shreem Brzee Collective. And that sounds like a great idea. And then the collective will be there for you after the 6 months of the Brzee Abundance program is up. There's a question, can Brzee change my laziness and procrastinations? Yeah, you just have to do it. If you're too lazy to do the program or do the mantra, then I'm sorry, we can't help you. But if you can get yourself to do the mantra, then you'll be able to witness how it can change you in a variety of ways. So I'd definitely like to hear back from you in a few months about how it could change. If there is negative thoughts around money, will it hinder our growth? 100%. 100%. Dr. Pillai talked about this on the original program, the masterclass. He said your thoughts are stopping you from manifesting. Your negative thoughts are stopping you from manifesting. And this is the default network we talked about today. So yeah, if you have negative thoughts about money, guess what? You're not going to create money. If you have negative thoughts about it, why are you going to try to draw something towards you that you already feel negative about? That's counterproductive. It's like, I don't want to get burned by something. So let me think about getting burned by something, but inwardly, I don't want to get burned by anything. So that's, there's a struggle there. What you have to do is reconcile your relationship with money, your relationship to the concepts. And Dr. Pillai has mentioned this too, that for lifetimes, he actually mentioned it in the masterclass, for lifetimes, we have had either, thoughts as well as renunciation that have led us to feeling that money is evil, or it causes greed, or we wanted to, we were a monk in a past life who renounced everything, and now our soul brought those patterns and those memories, and here we are in this life trying to create money, but inwardly there's a conflict. So in the first module, the soul module, he'll be addressing that, and he'll be having us to do a mantra or do Brzee in certain areas that will help dissipate the soul's memory of negativity around finances or money or abundance in general. Arizona is asking, are pre-recorded videos new content? Yes. So Dr. Pillai is beginning to record all the videos for this program. And so they'll be pre-recorded, but they're brand new. They will only have been released in this program and as we go month to month. And when you join, you'll receive month 1 and then month 2. So we're not going to give you everything at once because we don't want you to jump ahead. So we're really keeping it, we're going to drip feed what you need to know at the moment. All right, that looks like all of our questions. See if there's anything else. Any other questions? Last chance. Okay, looks like we're all complete here. Wrap up. May 30th is the $900 worth of bonuses. This is where you want to register by then if you are going to be joining the program. If you missed that and you're like still deciding, June 9th is when the program officially starts, the release of the new content, the first call with the teacher. The calls will be at 9 a.m. Pacific time on Sundays to help get us through as many time zones as we possibly can. And if you have any other questions, please write to us, office@pillaicenter.com, and we will be happy to help you as quickly as we can. Oh, look, there's one more question. Okay. What is the price difference between the regular programs and the advanced programs? It's on the website. So the regular program is $495. And again, for 6 months of new teachings, this is valued at $2,000, what we would normally price out each module for this, literally. So plus you're getting the live teaching calls and coaching, the Facebook group, the community support, and all that great things. And then if you register by May 30th, you receive $900 worth of bonuses, legit bonuses. That's what we would charge you for 6 months over the for all of these remedies. So it's 5 times, I mean, there's how many times difference of what the value is versus what you're paying. So $495 for the base program, and then $1995 for the advanced program. And that one, if you include the bonuses for the early bird, that's a $5,000 package. Without the bonuses, it's a $4,000 package with everything that's been added to it. So, so those are the price differences and the value differences. And it's really quite extraordinary. I personally love to make sure we give away as much as we possibly can at Pillai Center when we do these type of offerings, because we want to make sure you have the most and the best. And if this is not in your financial grasp at the moment, there are payment plans for the, there's a 3-part payment plan for the basic level, and then there's a 6-month payment plan for the advanced level. So we're, again, doing our very best to make sure we can get it into as many of your hands as possible. All right, I think that's all the questions there. All right, great. I personally look forward to seeing you in the program. We've got our Facebook group already going, so if you've purchased, you can be added to that. We're getting it rolling with the excitement of Brzee. What's really fun too is when I get little information or tidbits or kind of quotes or messages from Dr. Pillai, I get to pass them right on to you in the Facebook group, as well as on the Sunday teaching calls. I'll be one of the teachers along with Sucharita, Swami Nivali. We'll have a few really great teachers who've been around Dr. Pillai for 20+ years, who bring a lot of wisdom with them to pass on to our friends, all of you in the program. So we'll look forward to seeing you very soon. Namaste.